Who wants to ride a sled with stock graphics? Not us. Use SledSend 4 for 20% off a discount on Arctic FX graphics. They'll bring your vision to life with hundreds of designs and endless customization options. Your sled will stand out whether you're on the trail or in the backcountry. So hit the link in the description and customize your wrap and use SledSend 4 for 20% off at checkout.
SledSend listeners, welcome back to the next episode of the SledSend podcast. Appreciate you guys tuning in, regardless of what platform you're on. And be sure to check out some of the links in the description. As always, a bunch of discount codes for you guys in there. And you guys are in for a treat on this episode. It's just me, Lone Wolf. It's been, season 2, I think, Jeff, since we ran one on my own. And so, we were kind of on a time crunch, and this is Wednesday. So this episode's coming out Friday. And so Jeff and I decided to rip one here in my garage. And this episode, I wanted to talk about the sled I'm sitting on. So earlier this season, we had kind of had a plan to do a pretty big sled build reveal video at a pretty cool location, and logistically it just didn't time up. So we weren't able to get that done. So with that being said, I wasn't able to kind of show off and showcase this year's build. So this is a 2025 Chaos Boost 155 I went with the 325 track this year. So last year on the 24 Boost, I went with the 275, and this year I was like, I want to try the new track. So but yeah, with that being said, the vision kind of behind this, I'll just say that this wrap that is on this sled, I had at my house in August. So I kind of spent pretty much all summer, thinking about the colorway, the color scheme, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, if you know me, I don't get too far off of black, white, and gray. But my other favorite color outside of that is olive green. So last year in both my wraps on the 9R and the Boost, I had olive green kind of in the logos and stuff, and you couldn't really tell too much. So this year I was like, you know what? I'm going all out. I'm breaking away from, nothing but solid black, and I went with the olive green. So yeah, this is the Arctic FX wrap. It is our SledSend signature wrap. It's the SledSend Cast is the name of it. All the SledSend boys are running a version of this design. And I also went with no other logos on this wrap. So obviously we have, a bunch of sponsors, and we advocate and advertise through the podcast and whatnot. And this year I was just like, you know what? Clean, simple, and nothing but SledSend was kind of the vision behind it. So, but yeah, so that's kind of the wrap. And let's start from the front, I guess, and work our way back, or maybe we'll go by the company. I didn't know if you were I didn't know if you wanted me to prompt something else. Okay. So yeah, let's start off with the industry leader in protection, which would be Backwoods BMP. So I went with a white front bumper. I went with the titanium gray spindles, and then the white subframe and the white big wheel kit as well. I kind of thought that instead of doing everything all in white, I thought the titanium gray kind of matched the gray and the silver that was in the wrap. And it kind of broke up so I'm running the white skis for those of you that aren't watching. And so I thought the titanium gray there fit pretty well. Yeah. And then the next one. So I want to talk about kind of two things that are on this sled that I can't not have. And one of those is the Skins hood. So I'm not affiliated with Skins by any means, but I had a skins on my 21 Axis, and it's one of those things that like I don't ever want to not have. They look dope, tons of storage, and then obviously heated storage, right? And so I don't have a bag for my bars because I run the RSI bars, and so that takes away quite a bit of storage, obviously, from having a bag there. So it's pretty crucial to have the storage in the hood for me. The second thing from skins that I can't not have is a heated brake lever. For me, it's one of those things that like once you have it, you can't ever not have it, because my finger gets cold. I always have a finger on the brake, obviously, and it gets cold. So that's one of those things that I can't not have. Another one that I can't not have that I'm not affiliated with too is the DuraPro tether. It's just quick, magnetic. Yeah, it's pretty convenient. Let's talk about under the hood for a little bit, because last year on my 24 Boost, I didn't do any kind of performance upgrades. But this year I went with the SLP Stage 2 kit. So it's got the head, the can, obviously, and then some clutching stuff as well. So in the primary and in the secondary. I believe it adds like an extra like 7 horsepower, and I can notice it for sure. So I'm really, really happy. I've got the competition can on there. I don't like loud cans. I'm not an advocate for super loud cans, and that one is like just enough. It sounds super good, but it's not annoyingly loud. And yeah, so let's talk about airflow. Fire and ice. So under the hood, I'm running the little boost intake that you cut into your air box, and then the big air intakes on the sides, and then from Fire and Ice is the 3D Logic dash intake as well. And yeah, she needs to breathe. So between those three, works pretty dang well, eliminating bog. And moving back a little bit, controls. So RSI bars, have been running RSI for several seasons now. I run the narrow Slim Jim bar, and with on 2-inch risers. So that's what I found works pretty well for me. Yeah, and then under my butt, I'm sitting on the Seco seat cover. And they're super grippy. I'm really happy with these seats. All the SledSend boys are running the Seco seat covers on their sleds this season. Makes a pretty big difference, I feel. And so, yeah, moving back a little bit further. For those of you that are not watching, I suggest that you do. So back on the tunnel is something pretty special from Carbon Pursuit. So it is the tunnel cut / rear bumper, fully out of carbon fiber, reinforced with some Kevlar stuff. So kind of the story behind how that came to be was it would have been, I think like 2 heydays ago, Kobe and I were kind of talking back and forth, and he was kind of looking at a different tunnel cut, and he was like, man, what if we could have one of our different sponsors make something like this? And so Kobe and I were kind of going back and forth, and I was like, what if we do this out of carbon fiber? Let's go talk to Frank from Carbon Pursuit. So Kobe and I ran over to Frank's booth at Heydays, and we were like, hey, what about this concept? What do you think? And then from there, between Kobe, between Frank and myself, we had multiple phone calls kind of back and forth, and Frank did his thing and came up with a design for this. And it's something that, 1, looks super dope. 2, it's super strong, and obviously reinforced with the Kevlar and stuff too. And something that was pretty important was obviously making the hand slots, so that you know, if you were stuck, you could pick it up. Or another thing that I told Frank that was super important was if we were ever in a situation and a sled breaks down, I want to be able to, tow the sled out. And then Kobe went a step further and was able to take a tail light out of a tail tidy from Avid Products, from Andy, and he was able to mount that onto this carbon fiber bumper, and it works pretty well. So I mean, yeah, we're super pleased. Kobe has definitely been product testing it a lot more than I have. But so far, I mean, it's worked pretty flawlessly. I mean, it completely eliminates having a rudder in the back. So pretty easy to get up and around. And then also from Carbon Pursuit, below me on the rails is a white carbon fiber rail braces. So this is my second season running those. Super pleased with them as well. I've had zero issues with them. What else from Carbon Pursuit is behind the side panel here is the belt protector. It's all out of carbon fiber, and I think there's some Kevlar in there as well. And it's underneath your oil reservoir mounts onto it too. So,
hey, what's up, guys? We're here at Heydays, and I'm standing here with Dayton from Albany Lodge, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what they have to offer.
Hey guys, so we're a certified Polaris Adventures outfitter located in Albany, Wyoming. We have 13 cabins and 9 hotel rooms. We offer a fleet of sleds in the winter for rent as well as in the summer of side-by-sides. If you guys are looking to do something a little bit different, we offer guiding, fishing guides, all of the above. At the end of the day, get dirty, get tired, stop in the bar and grab a drink, get bites to eat, have a good time.
Heck yeah, and be sure to use SledSend 4 for 15% off the lodging and their entire rental fleet, whether you're here for the winter to ride sleds or in the summer for side-by-side.
So Jeff just asked me a pretty good question. Out of everything that is on this sled right now, as far as mods, if there was only one that I could pick, boy, that's a pretty good question. Because the way that I have this sled set up, everything that's on here I have for a reason. So eradicating some of those reasons is pretty difficult. But yeah, I think if I was to narrow it down and only have one thing on this sled, I would probably go with that's tough. I would probably go with the SLP Stage 2 kit. More power. I don't think you can ever go wrong necessarily with more power. But that's hard, because it's also a $23,000 snowmobile. So having a front bumper is pretty ideal too. But yeah, I would, if you were to force me, I would probably go with the SLP Stage 2 kit. I've kind of, the last few seasons and the last few sleds, I've poured a lot into building them. Obviously, it's a process that I thoroughly enjoy. Especially like if we're building together with the other SledSend boys in the shop, the camaraderie, everything. I thoroughly just enjoy the entire process of building these sleds, from like the beginning of like what parts I want, what color I want, all that kind of stuff. And then actually getting down and dirty and turning wrenches and stuff. And so if I was to say like a mod that I've never done, that I would like to do, that's a pretty interesting thought, because between all the sleds, I've done a lot of different things. I mean, in my Axis, I had a full carbon skid. I had Fox IQS. I had like lightweight everything. I would probably say, and this is probably thanks to Luke Youngberg, because when we had the Backwoods giveaway ride, he had one of his mod sleds there that he forced me to ride for a minute just to take for a spin, and it had the Thomas factory racing skid in it, and like I was only on it for, I don't know, not even like 10 minutes, but I ripped it through a bunch of I don't know, like pretty gnarly bumps and stuff, doing this climb up the side of this hill. And that skid just like ate every single bump. Like I got back to the bottom and I was talking to Luke. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was even a thing. It made a substantial difference. So that's probably one thing that I would do differently. There's some mods that I've kind of talked to some of the other sponsors that I would like to see. Definitely some that I've talked with Frank about, because I'm a big carbon fiber fiend. So there may potentially be some things in the work in the future that come from him that are carbon fiber related. But yeah, I would probably say that that's probably something that I've never done that I would like to do is that skid setup. So out of all of these upgrades and mods and stuff that I've done, the best bang for your buck. I would probably have to go with. I'd probably have to go with your bar setup, just because that has such a big impact, obviously, on the control of your sled. And I feel that these RSI bars and just the comfort of them make a pretty big difference over the stock bars. I mean, obviously, it's like to each your own, right? But for me personally, like the cost of them and having the control that you feel with the aftermarket bars, with these RSI bars, I feel that that's probably the best bang for your buck. Another thing that I forgot to mention too is that, like, with running the Skins hood, I mean, obviously the biggest thing is lightweight too, right? And it's obviously deleting your headlight. And so what I've been doing is just running the Oxbow Voyager light on the little Skins mount right here, and then just tying that right in, and that's been pretty, because you never want to be in the backcountry and not have light. So I've got that on my hood, and then I've also got another light for on my helmet as well too. Out of all of the time that I've spent for myself personally building different sleds, I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned, and it's kind of something that I learned as a kid, is like, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right the first time. And so that's something that kind of has been ingrained in me from my dad and my grandpa. And so it's super important, obviously, to build these things properly when you're in the backcountry, right? And things can go wrong and you're a long ways from the truck or whatever. There can be a lot of consequences. And so taking your time and, building these things properly, there's a lot that can go into it. But it's obviously super, super crucial and important to do it the right way. And with that being said, I actually made a mistake when I took this skid out and I installed the shocks. I did not put enough Loctite on my bolts for the shaft at the bottom of your front track shock. And this last weekend I was in halfway, and the sled was up on the deck, and I believe that those bolts started to back out a little bit, and then the weight of the sled hanging off the deck, it sheared off those bolts and completely ruined my weekend. I was unable to ride my sled. And so I got back home and I took it all apart and got the bolt that sheared off to back out, and got new bolts and put it all back together with plenty of Loctite. And it's just one of those things where, like, it was a really small minor thing that turned out to be a really big deal and ruined my entire weekend. So yeah, out of all of the stuff that I've done on these sleds over the years, like, that's probably the biggest takeaway for me, is like, make sure you do it right the first time, take your time, and because it's obviously, super important to make sure everything is 100%. I've built kind of a handful of sleds. I guess, like, my first big build was my 21 Axis, and I went completely off the wall with that sled, went all out with it. And then I built my 24 Boost last year, my 24 9R last year, and then this 25. And I would say that from a performance standpoint and a look standpoint, this 25 is hands down my favorite. I will say that, like, it's my favorite overall for sure. But I definitely, after running like a carbon fiber skid and those Fox IQS, that makes a really, really, really big difference. And it's something that I definitely miss at times. But yeah, hands down, out of all of the sleds that I've had my hands on and built out, this 25 Boost is by far my favorite and the best running, best looking sled that I personally have ever touched, in my opinion.
Hey, it's Robin Cook with Truck Boss Decks. Just wanted to show off our 8-foot Truck Boss. It's 100% aluminum, made in America. You never have to take it off in the summertime. A year-round use, dry and secure storage underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. And be sure to use SledSend 4 on the website for 5% off to upgrade your adventure to Truck Boss Decks.
last year on my 24, I ran the 275. And this year I just wanted to, I really, really like that track. And with like where we're at and the typical zones that we ride and stuff, it's pretty rare for us to have like just super epic deep days. And this year I decided to go with the 325. For one, I had high hopes that this year was just going to be really, really deep. And I also knew that we were going to travel a lot this year as well. And so I decided to give it a shot. You know, I know some guys have kind of been concerned about the speed limit. And we kind of learned last year from one of the team members going pretty fast. He ripped off a lot of paddles on the 325. But for me personally, like 45, 50 miles down the trail is plenty for me. I'm not super into racing and going super fast. That's just not really my thing when it comes to the trail stuff. So I was never really concerned about, that speed limit or that warning that'll pop up past the 50 or 55. And so yeah, but I mean, so far with all the places we've gone, all the snow conditions that we've been in, I've noticed a pretty big difference in the 325 versus the 275. It's been super beneficial in the really deep stuff, which thankfully we've had quite a bit of that this year. Currently, as I'm filming this, it's warming up and going to start raining, which is really unfortunate. So we'll see what happens here with the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, so far I've been super pleased with the 325. It's a heck of a track. So I may have seen something online that maybe there's a new track coming from somebody's picture I saw, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's kind of been my thoughts on the 325. I'm super, super pleased with it, and probably do the same thing for next season as well on the 26. Yeah, so I mean, kind of to wrap up this episode, I've been super, super pleased with the differences from the 24 to the 25. The 24 last year, that was my first year on a boost and my first year on a 9R. It was also my first year on the Matrix chassis as well. And first year on a Chaos because my Axis was a Pro. So a lot of changes for me personally last year. But then from the 24 to this sled, the changes that Polaris made, the changes I made in some of the mods and stuff that I've done, overall, like just super pleased. Like I said earlier, this is by far hands down my favorite sled that I've ever ridden and ever put together. And so with that being said, as we film this today, Skidoo just dropped their 26s, and the Polaris 26s are coming out March 5th. And so I want to know from you guys, like, what are your thoughts? What do you think is coming? There's a lot of talk about, the 9R boost and a couple of different things. So, like, what do you guys think that Polaris is going to drop for the 26? My thoughts, I don't really know. It's really hard. It's one of those things, and I know, like, the SledSend boys and myself internally, we kind of talk about it off and on. It's like these sleds are wildly fantastic, so, like, how can they make changes to make it any better, right? But at the same time, it's one of those things where, like, when people were on the Axis, they probably thought the same, like, oh my gosh, how could these get any better? And then they dropped the Matrix and the boost and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's really hard to kind of come up with the changes that they could make. For me personally, there's not a whole lot that's that I can think of on this sled that from a factory standpoint that I would change. I did forget to mention this whole new throttle setup on these 25s is quite nice. I've been really, really pleased with these as well. But yeah, there's just not, I don't know what they could change. I mean, obviously, like, getting lighter is always a thing. Last year they dropped, I think, like 7 pounds from the 24 to the 25. How much lighter can you actually go without, without questioning, like, strength and durability? Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool to see a 9R boost. They're building those for the factory, for the rimshot guys and stuff. and it kind of seems like that's a pattern of what the rim shot guys are doing, that comes to the marketplace. I would be pretty surprised. Just kind of given the state of the industry and where everything is at, I would be pretty surprised if they dropped a 9R boost. But if they did, I would snow check one. I'll say that much. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't know what direction they're going to go, or if it's just going to be like a bunch more refinements. So we'll see. But I definitely want to know what your guys' thoughts are, what you think they're going to do, what you would like to see different from Polaris, and for the 26s. Comment below and let us know. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what you guys are going to put in there. Yeah, Jeff did bring up a good point, and this has been brought up a ton, is some clearance or some more clearance under the quick drive belt, because there's not a whole lot there, and things can get under there and mess up your belt and stuff. I do know Shay and I learned a trick from Voke at the beginning of the season. At the back there is where the plastic comes around and mounts to the bottom of the running board. There's a rivet right there, and they drill out those rivets and just let that plastic hang so that things can get out from under there way easier. Yeah, that would be a nice change. Or you just don't break your hood and get plastic pieces under there and scratch up your belt. That's an option too. So, but yeah, we'll see what they do. I'm pretty excited for it. It's really only a couple weeks away, and yeah, I'm excited to see what they come out with. But yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely comment below. Let us know, what you guys are thinking is coming for the 26s from Polaris. What you think's coming and what you want to see from Polaris in the future. So yeah, let us know, and appreciate you guys tuning in on this episode. The next episode, next Friday, is going to be a truck episode of the SledSend boys. All 5 of us are loaded up in my pickup, and we are headed to Albany Lodge to go ride over there for 3 days. So there'll be a ton of fresh episodes coming from that weekend. So stay tuned for those to come out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.